Hello everyone and welcome back to the next lecture of control systems. From this lecture we are going to start a new chapter which is the stability analysis. In this chapter we will mainly focus on the Routh-Hurwitz criteria of determining the stability of a system, and in this particular lecture we will discuss the introduction to the stability of a system. So let's get started. So we will start with the definition of stability analysis. The analysis of whether the given system can reach the steady state passing through the transient successfully is called as the stability analysis of the system. So there are three terms in this definition which may look alien to you at this point of time. The first one is the steady state, the second one is the transients, and the third one is the stability. In chapter number 1, we have discussed that if we provide any input to a system, then it undergoes some processing and it gives some output. So the time at which the system gives the final output, that state of the system is called as the steady state. And the time that elapses between the processing of the system is called as the transient state. So these two terms, the transient state and the steady state, will be more clear to you in the next chapter, which is the time response analysis. As of now, we will mainly focus on the stability of the system. So let us now move on to understand the basic meaning of stability or the concept of stability. We will understand the concept of stability by taking some examples. So let us now move on to example number 1, in which we are having a container and we are having a ball which is placed inside this container. And in this case, we are assuming that this container is deep enough so that the ball cannot come outside, regardless of any amount of force applied to this ball. So, if we apply a force to this ball, then what will happen? Yes, this ball will try to move inside this container and eventually it will come back to its original position. For example, if we apply a force to this ball, then it will move inside this container and we can see that eventually this ball has come to its original position. It will not come outside this container because we have assumed that this container is deep enough. In this case, this system is called as the stable system because this system is not disturbed regardless of any amount of force which is applied to this ball in order to move this ball outside this container. I hope you got this. This will be more clear to you when we will see some more examples. So let us now move on to the second example, in which we are having this shaped container, or we can say this shaped system, in which a ball is placed over the top of this system. Now we can clearly see that even a small amount of force can push this ball downwards. So if we apply a small amount of push to this ball has come downwards. We can see that. So these type of systems are called as unstable systems because in these systems even a small amount of disturbance can disturb the complete system. I hope you got this. Let us now move on to another example in which we are having a bowl shaped container and a ball is placed inside this container. Now we can see that in this case this bowl is not deep enough. So now whether the ball will come outside this bowl or not, it will depend on the intensity of force that we are applying to this ball. Suppose if we apply a small amount of force, then it may move inside this container and it will eventually come back to its original position. But if we apply a greater amount of force, then it may come outside this container. Let us check this out. If we apply a small amount of force, this ball will collide the walls of this container and it will come back to its original position. But if we apply a greater amount of force, then in that case, this ball will come outside this container. So that's why we can say that the stability of this system is dependent on some parameter. In this case, it is dependent on the force we are applying to this ball. And these type of systems are called as conditionally stable systems because the stability of these kind of systems are conditional in nature. I hope you got this. Till now we have discussed 3 examples. The first example was an example of stable system. The second one was an unstable system. And the third example is of a conditionally stable system. Now besides these 3 categories, there is one more category of systems in which the output varies between 2 extreme values, like a pendulum which moves between 2 extreme values. So these kind of systems in which the output continuously oscillates between 2 different values are called as oscillatory systems or marginally stable systems. These systems are neither stable nor unstable. and that's why these are called as marginally stable systems. So I hope you understood this analogy. We have just seen the basic meaning of stability by using these 4 examples. We will discuss all these 4 types of systems in a great detail in this chapter. And for that sake, we will use the same transfer function model of control system that we have discussed till now. And we know that the transfer function of system contains the zeros and poles. So now we will discuss the effect of poles on the stability of a control system. So let us now move on to discuss the effect of location of poles on stability. So the stability of a linear closed loop system can be determined from the locations of closed loop poles in the S-plane. From the pole zero diagram of a control system, we know that the poles are either present in the left half plane, in the right half plane, or in the imaginary axis. So we can determine the stability of a linear closed loop system by determining the location of closed loop poles. Let us understand this with the help of an example. Comment on stability if the system has closed loop transfer function Cs over Rs equal to 10 over S plus 2 multiplied with S plus 4. Now we know that the denominator of closed loop transfer function determines the location of poles. And we can see that there are 2 poles present in this system. The first one is present at S equal to minus 2 and the second one is present at S equal to minus 4. Now by using this fact, let us now try to comment on the stability of this system. So moving on to the solution. In order to check the response of this system, let us consider one unit step input applied to this system. So we need to find out the response of the system for the unit step input. We know the Laplace transform of unit step input is 1 over S. So we will have Cs, which is the final output, equal to 10 over S multiplied with S plus 2 multiplied with S plus 4. Now from the previous chapters, we already know that how we can calculate the output in time domain. Yes, we have to take the partial fractions and then we will take the inverse Laplace transform. So if we take the partial fractions of this term, we will have A over S plus B over S plus 2 plus C over S plus 4. Now we already know that how we can calculate the values of these 3 constants A, B and C by using the cover-up method. Suppose if we want to calculate the value of A, we need to put the value of S equal to 0 and we need to cover this term S in the left hand side. In that case, the value of A will be 10 over 0 plus 2 multiplied with 0 plus 4. It will be 10 over 8, which will be 1.25. In the same way, if we want to calculate the value of B, we need to put S plus 2 equal to 0, that is S equal to minus 2, and we need to cover this term in the left hand side. In that case, the value of B will be 10 over minus 2 multiplied with minus 2 plus 4. And then we can simplify for the value of B. In the same way, we can calculate the value for C also. So I'm telling you the value of A is equal to 1.25 by putting the value of S equal to 0 and covering this term in the left hand side. The value of B will be minus 2.5 if we put the value of S equal to minus 2 and cover this term in the left hand side. And the value of C will be 1.25 if we put the value of S equal to minus 4 and cover this term in the left hand side. So now, as we have the values of these 3 constants, we can put these values in this equation. So we will have Cs equal to 1.25 over S plus minus 2.5 over S plus 2 plus 1.25 over S plus 4. And now we can easily take the inverse Laplace transform in order to find out the time domain output C of t. So if we take the inverse Laplace transform, we will have C of t equal to 1.25 minus 2.5 multiplied with e power minus 2t ut plus 1.25 multiplied with e power minus 4t ut. We all know that the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s plus a is e power minus at ut. And that's why the inverse Laplace transform of minus 2.5 over s plus 2 is minus 2.5 multiplied with e power minus 2t ut. Minus 2.5 is a constant here and the value of a in this case is equal to 2. In the same way, the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s plus 4 is e to the power minus 4t. And the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s is equal to 1. And that's why the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s in this term is equal to 1 and hence we have the constant 1.25. So this is the complete time domain output of this closed loop system if we apply the unit step input. Now if we observe the behavior of this output, we can see that there is one constant term and there are two negative exponential terms. So if we take the value of t equal to infinity, that is the steady state output, these two negative exponential terms will tend to 0, and hence we will have the steady state output equal to 1.25. And that's why we can say that this system is a stable system, because we are having a constant output. Now observe that both the poles of this system are present in the left half plane, and that's why we are having a stable output. That's why we can say that this system is a stable system. Let us now take one more example to understand this concept in a better manner. Consider a system with one closed loop pole in the right half plane. Comment on the stability. So we are having the closed loop transfer function as Cs over Rs equal to 10 over s minus 2 multiplied with s plus 4. We can see that there are two poles. One is present at s equal to 2 and the other one is present at s equal to minus 4. So clearly we can see that one closed loop pole is present in the right half of s plane. And now we need to comment on the stability. So moving on to the solution. Again, if we consider the input given to this system is the unit step input, then the unit step response will be Cs equal to 10 over s multiplied with s minus 2 multiplied with s plus 4. If the input is unit step input, then in that case, Rs, which is the Laplace transform of input, will be equal to 1 over s, and if we transpose this term to the right hand side, we will have Cs equal to this term. I hope you got this. Now we know that what we have to do. We just need to take the partial fractions and take the inverse Laplace transform in order to get the time domain output. So if we take the partial fractions, we will have a over s plus b over s minus 2 plus c over s plus 4. Now I want you all to pause this video and find out the values of these three constants a, b and c. So if you do so, you will get the values of a equal to minus 1.25. The value of b will be equal to 0.833 and the value of c will be equal to 0.416. Now if we put all these values in this equation, we will have Cs equal to minus 1.25 over s plus 0.833 over s minus 2 plus 0.416 over s plus 4. Now we can easily take the inverse Laplace transform in order to get the time domain output. We will have the time domain output as c of t equal to minus 1.25 plus 0.833 e power plus 2t plus 0.416 e to the power minus 4t. In this case, the inverse Laplace transform of 1 over s minus 2 is e to the power plus 2t. And now we can see that we are having a positive exponential term in this output. And due to the presence of this term, the output at t equal to infinity, that is the steady state output, will tend to infinity. Let us check this out for different values of t. Let us draw a table here in which we are having time t and we are having the output at right hand side. So if we put the value of t equal to 0, we will have ct e equal to 0. Because e to the power plus 2 multiplied with 0 will be e power 0, which is equal to 1. And e to the power minus 4 multiplied with 0 will also be equal to e power 0, which is equal to 1. And if we solve this, we will have the value of output at t equal to 0 equal to 0. Now if we put the value of t equal to 1, we will have the output plus 4.91. You can check this by putting the value of t equal to 1 in these two exponential terms. In the same way, if we put the value of t equal to 2, we will have ct equal to plus 44.23. And now if we check the value of t at steady state, that is at t equal to infinity, we can see that this term will tend to infinity. And that's why the total output will also tend to infinity. Now if we try to plot a graph of this output by using these values, the graph will look like this. At t equal to 0, the output is equal to 0. And as the time approaches infinity, the output also approaches infinity. So this type of system is called as the unstable system, because the output of this system at steady state is infinite. I hope you got this example. We just have to observe one important point here. Due to the presence of a single pole in the right half plane, we have got one exponential term, which is the positive exponential term, and due to the presence of this positive exponential term, the output tends to infinity at steady state. which makes the system unstable. So we can say that even if a single pole is present in the right half plane, this system will become unstable. So in this way, we are done with this example. Let us now take one more example. So till now we have discussed two examples. Let us now discuss one more example. Comment on stability if the system has closed loop transfer function Cs over Rs equal to 2 over s squared plus 4. So till now we have understood that we can determine the stability of a system by locating the closed loop poles. So firstly we will determine the closed loop poles of the system and then we will comment on the stability. So moving on to the solution, if we put the denominator term equal to 0, we will have s squared plus 4 equal to 0 and hence the values of s will be equal to plus minus 2j. So we can say that this term is having complex conjugate roots at the imaginary axis and hence the system is having poles at imaginary axis. If we locate these poles on the pole 0 diagram, we will have one pole at plus 2j and the other pole at minus 2j. So this is a pair of complex conjugate poles present in the imaginary axis. Now we need to comment on the stability of this system. So for that sake, let us consider one input given to this system. This time let us consider impulse input given to this system. So if we consider the impulse response of this system, then the input is r of t equal to del t. So the Laplace transform Rs will be equal to 1 and the output will be Cs equal to 2 over s squared plus 4. Now we can rewrite this term as Cs equal to 2 over s squared plus 2 squared. 4 can be written as 2 squared. Now we know that the Laplace transform of sine omega t is omega over s squared plus omega squared. Now in this case, we can see that the value of omega is equal to 2. So if we take the inverse Laplace transform, we will have c of t equal to sine 2t. I hope you got this. Now if we plot this output with respect to time, we will have a sinusoidal wave which will move between these two values plus 1 and minus 1. So we can say that this system is oscillatory in nature and the output of this system oscillates between two values plus 1 and minus 1. So these type of systems are called as marginally stable systems because these are neither stable nor unstable. And this is due to the presence of poles at imaginary axis. So I hope you got this example. In example number 1, we had two poles. Both the poles were present in the left half plane and that's why the system was a stable system. In example number 2, one of the poles was present in the right half plane and that's why the system went unstable. And in this example, we have a pair of complex conjugate poles which are present in the imaginary axis. And that's why the time domain output is a sine wave which is oscillatory between two extreme values. And that's why we say that this system is a marginally stable system. So I hope you got these three examples. We will now take the conclusions out of these three examples. So moving on to the conclusions, we discussed the effect of location of poles on stability of systems by using three examples. And we know if all the poles of a system are present on the left half plane, that is in the LHP, then the system will be stable. From example number 2, we know that if any of the pole of the system is present in the right half plane, that is in the RHP, then the system will be unstable. And from example number 3, we know that if the system has complex conjugate poles in the imaginary axis, then the system will be marginally stable. So in example number 1, we had two different poles. Both the poles were present in the left half plane and that's why this system is a stable system. In example number 2, we had two different poles, but one of the poles was present in the right half plane and due to this system went unstable. And in example number 3, we had a pair of complex conjugate poles present in the imaginary axis and due to this, the time domain output was a sinusoidal wave. And that's why we concluded that this system is a marginally stable system. So in this way, we are done with these conclusions and we are now in a position to comment on the stability of system if we know the locations of poles of closed loop transfer function. And we will now move on to define a new term which is characteristic equation. A characteristic equation is nothing more than setting denominator of closed loop transfer function equal to 0. That is, if we are having this transfer function, if we put the denominator of this transfer function equal to 0, then the equation we will obtain will be the characteristic equation of this closed loop transfer function. So what will be the characteristic equation of this closed loop transfer function? Yes, it will be s plus 2 multiplied with s plus 4 equal to 0. And if we solve this, we will have s squared plus 6s plus 8 equal to 0. So this will be the characteristic equation for this closed loop transfer function. In the same way, if we want to have the characteristic equation for this closed loop transfer function, we need to put the denominator of this CLTF equal to 0. So we will have s minus 2 multiplied with s plus 4 equal to 0. So the characteristic equation will be s squared plus 2s minus 8 equal to 0. And similarly, if we put s squared plus 4 equal to 0, we will have the characteristic equation for this closed loop transfer function. Now what will be the roots of this characteristic equation? Yes, the roots will be the same. The roots will be s equal to minus 2 and s equal to minus 4. And we already know that these two are the poles of this closed loop transfer function. So from this thing we got an important point that the closed loop poles are the roots of characteristic equation. If we want to determine the roots of this characteristic equation, we can have s equal to 2 and s equal to minus 4. And these two are the poles of this closed loop transfer function. And that's why we can say the closed loop poles for this closed loop transfer function are the roots of this characteristic equation. In the same way, we can say the roots of this characteristic equation are the closed loop poles for this system. So this is a very important point to understand, that the closed loop poles are the roots of characteristic equation. So if we are given a characteristic equation, not the overall transfer function, and we need to comment on the stability of system, then we have to calculate the roots of characteristic equation in order to obtain the closed loop poles, and then we can comment on the stability of that system. So I hope you understood this term characteristic equation and the significance of characteristic equation. In the upcoming lectures, we will solve some problems in which one characteristic equation will be given and we will have to comment on the stability. In that case, we will take the roots of that characteristic equation in order to obtain the closed loop poles, and based on the location of closed loop poles, we will comment on the stability. So now I want you all to go through all the three examples one more time, and then we will end this lecture here. Thank you for watching this lecture. I'll end this one here. See you in the next lecture.